Welcome to Dating History. I'm Katie Massey.
And I'm Analisa Burns.
And every week we take a historical male figure and break down his personality, his dating habits, and his relationship patterns and ask, would he thrive or completely fall apart in the modern dating scene?
That's right. And this week, our little special guest is Johnny Cash, the original sad cowboy and the inventor of the avoidant attachment style.
Boy, is that right. I gotta be so honest. I don't even know if I should. No, it's not that. It's that I could only name one Johnny Cash song when we started research on this, which I don't know if I should admit it. Yeah, and it was Walk the Line. No, it was Ring of Fire. But for our research this week, I read Cash, the autobiography, Johnny Cash, and also watched My Darling Vivian. And then Analisa and I together watched Walk the Line, the 2005 film, which we decided was...
If you read my Letterboxd review, it was pretty bad.
It was bad. We thought it was bad, but we thought...
People are mad at me for my Letterboxd review.
We thought Reese Witherspoon was a cutie pie, though. And
she's always a cutie pie.
She crushed. Yeah. I do think that what I took away from that movie was I love Reese Witherspoon and not I love June Carter Cash. I was like, Reese Witherspoon's the cutest and could do anything.
100%. And what I took away from it was Joaquin Phoenix needs to... one biopic. I think every actor should be allowed one biopic. Mm-hmm. You can't play, because he plays Napoleon.
Right. And so far, sort of 0 for 2 for our boy Joaquin.
Yeah, he's not good at it. They should have learned from the first one.
If you have the name Joaquin Phoenix, you should be you. You know what I mean? Like, you're clearly an individual. Like, you should lean into being... Why are you trying to be somebody else? He has a scar that makes him distinctive. He has an iconic life. And he crushes playing like an odd, deeply depraved role. But you should be an individual. It's just interesting for him to try to play somebody else that is clearly known and not either himself or a character that he gets to kind of make up.
He always plays sad or like ridiculous men, complicated men. And I don't really care to see it.
We've talked about this on the podcast before, but why does complicated mean bad? Like when a man, we talked about a complicated president means that like he bombs foreign countries, but a complicated man is like he had depression and he beat his wife. Like, what if they were complicated because the depths of his kindness were so impressive? Like, he was so generous. It was complicated. Anyway,
when they call our founding fathers individually like complicated figures, they're just perverts and pedophiles
and slave owners,
pedophiles, and perverts. That's Mount Rushmore. It's true. So we've been doing a lot of perverts, pedophiles, but this week, the founding fathers, but this week we're doing a cheater and an alcoholic.
A real departure from all the other cheaters.
Yes, he's a very
and addicts
different
that we've been doing. He's different because he is a singer.
He's a singer.
And
he's
honestly, I feel like because he's an artist, he like... He gets away with it, but like artists, when they're cheaters and drug addicts, it feeds into their thing. This is the thing, is that everybody is the same, and a lot of these powerful men are the same. They're cheaters and drug addicts and stuff, but artists lean into that being part of their image, and presidents pretend that it's not.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, but everyone's still a person. Like an artist isn't more of a god or like less of a human, or isn't more of a human than a president. A president is, whatever. They're like not
the wounded bird, drunk, like sad, complicated emo man. That was like kind of part of Johnny Cash's thing.
Totally. Isn't it interesting though that a man can be both a wounded bird and a total mess of his life and a tough guy? Like he
what
can
do you mean
have
by
been
tough guy?
Well, he can have been like, I don't actually know if Johnny Cash rode motorcycles, but like you can have been a huge
he wears
mess.
A black leather jacket.
Right. He's in his all black. He's playing in his band. He's like singing about singing in prisons and singing about killing a man. And then he's sort of Mr. Tough Guy image, and then also he's the wounded bird who June had to nurse back to health. And it's just so amazing how you can be both tough and wounded. That's not something that like women would get away with. It's like, my life fell apart, and actually you should, and I'm so impressive because of it. People just be like, your life fell apart, you're a mess.
Yeah. Show me a famous woman whose brand is that she is damaged. Nobody wants to see that.
And she's fans because of it.
No, nobody wants to see that.
The TikTok comments are going to come in hot on that. We're like, this woman
boring.
and this woman. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule, but it's not a stereotype of a type of woman. Like, you can't really think of it.
She was damaged and so cool.
No, right.
She ran cars into trees and she was sick.
So let's get into his backstory, shall we?
He was born on February 26th in 1932 in Kingsland, Arkansas, which makes him I don't know zodiac stuff. Pisces. He was a Pisces.
Man. Well, my roommate says, shout out roommate, shout out Julianne.
I was going to say you're not going to name her.
Yeah, why would I not? I'm not saying shit about her. Okay. Shout out my roommate Julianne. Claims that Pisces men are very dangerous. Very dangerous.
I will say there's never been a zodiac sign and then followed by man that people are like, and you know what? He's great.
Cancers.
Okay, yeah, maybe Cancers.
Yeah.
Maybe Cancers. You're a Cancer.
Yeah. It's
just if you go through one by one, you're like Gemini man, dangerous. Leo man,
they are
dangerous.
I don't know about Leo, but yeah, no, they're all dangerous. Men are dangerous.
Yeah, it's just men are dangerous.
Yes, straight men are dangerous. Okay,
totally.
What are you gonna do? I'm scared of them all. Gemini, Cancer, Taurus. What are the rest? I don't know.
Right. So Pisces. He was Pisces. He was a Pisces. He was born in Arkansas. He had 6 siblings, 3 older and 3 younger. So he was right in the middle.
Oh, that's tough.
Something interesting is his birth name was J.R. Cash. And that's not short for anything. It was J.R. And that was because his mom, I think, wanted to name him John. Dad wanted to name him Ray. Someone wanted to name him John. Someone named him Ray. And they couldn't decide, so they just went with JR. Okay. And he changed it to make it John when he enlisted. So anyway, JR Cash. He had a supportive mother and a jerk father, kind of jerk father as far as, which is...
Surprise.
The recipe for artists. Supportive mom.
Who builds them up.
Who builds them up, and jerk dad.
Yeah.
That, if you have that, you have the potential to go really far.
Johnny Cash could have used a Jewish grandmother.
Talk to me.
He could have used a Jewish grandmother or a Mexican mother. Mm-hmm. Because they'd be like, shut up. Shut up. You're sad. Go for a walk. Clean your room. Shut up. If he had a Mexican mother, she would be like, you're not sad. You're bored. Get a job. Get a real job.
Right. His dad... I don't even necessarily think his dad was a little chilly. Jerk, saying he's a jerk is almost too far as I understand it, but he was chilly. Okay. And certainly in Walk the Line, he's portrayed as a meanie, or just like not nice. In Walk the Line, he's portrayed as a jerk.
A man in 1950 who was chilly
and rude to his kids.
Shocker.
No. Johnny Cash recorded 96 albums and over 1,500 songs. I will say recording 96 albums and over 1,500 songs is something that you can do when you're not taking care of a kid. So if you're not
when you're a bad dad, you can do a lot of art.
So he grew up working in cotton fields as a child with his family. His mother would sing from the hymnal, and he had an older brother who died when they were children, very tragically, and that obviously had a big effect on him. The interesting thing about Johnny Cash is that in the past, like with our JFK episode, we were like, we try to focus on the notable women of their lives, and even with JFK, we still had so many people to talk about because he was sort of quantity over quality, some might say. And all of the women were quality, but the experiences.
Right.
Johnny Cash is really romantically defined by 2 women.
Right.
In his life.
That he treated both of them badly. Surprise, surprise. And he was neglectful to both.
Mm-hmm. And he was 19 when he met Vivian, who was 17 years old, at a roller skating rink.
That's cute.
It is cute. Apparently, the family lore was that he saw her and thought she was beautiful and bumped into her on purpose, knocked her down, which is kind of metaphorical, so that he could strike up a conversation.
Okay.
So there you go.
Sweet.
They met at the roller rink. They hung out for 3 weeks, and then he was in the Air Force. He was deployed, and then they wrote each other for 3 years.
Oh, that's so
After
normal.
hanging out for 3 weeks. So if he can't text you back,
he's gone. Take him off.
Take him off.
There's no such thing as too busy.
Because Johnny Cash was writing her sometimes twice a day.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, he loved her. He did.
He did love her. He wrote, so the reason the documentary was called My Darling Vivian is because he was starting letters being like, My Darling Vivian. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today is like, the big love story about Johnny Cash is often portrayed as Johnny and June. Like, this is the big love story. And the erasure is crazy because it's like, yeah, and then there's this other wife. Yeah. And then Johnny and June. And it's like, no, really, that was a real love story. They were kids. They were 17 and 19 when they met. They wrote each other for 3 years, these like beautiful letters. He came back, they got married, and they had 4 children together. And they were married for a total of like 13 years. And so to just dismiss all of that, like imagine if you'd been with somebody for a decade and then everyone's like, anyway, we got that witch out of the way.
No, and I wonder what terms they were on when they got divorced, when they separated. She was probably a little bit horrified.
She basically filed for divorce.
She did.
She did as a bluff to get him to come home, and he was like, all right.
Because he wanted to, yeah.
So Johnny, 3 years into their marriage, they get married. They are, let me see. Oh, he was 22. When they got married. And this is why it's so, not saying that it was anybody's fault, is very, very typical for the time. But that old frontal lobe, before you get married, it's a good thing to have on you.
Yeah. If you're 22, it's not time to think about marriage.
You're something new should be your frontal lobe. Don't borrow it. That's not your something borrowed.
If you're 22, stop thinking about getting married.
Yeah, they got married when he was 22. She was, I guess, 2 years younger than him. She's like 20 when they get married.
Okay, normal,
Casual. And then 3 years later is when he has his first amphetamine. And that is when shit starts to really go down.
And he's making music. Mm-hmm. And he's a struggling artist. And he gets into drugs. Mm-hmm. Which is a recipe. It's a recipe.
Mm-hmm. They get married, and then he is a door-to-door salesman. He's horrible at it. They get married, and then he gets a song on the radio and starts to become a hit based on that. And when he's on the road, he tries amphetamines, and he likes them, and then he starts to take them more and more. And also, even if he wasn't on drugs, he's just gone a lot. Like when you're on tour, you're gone all the time. And so even for the 50s, like that's got to be tough when your husband is just not there. At one point, their kids found out that there was a period of time he like didn't come home, and they were like, where is dad? And he was just chilling with Bob Dylan, living with him.
Hey, man, if my dad was chilling with Bob Dylan, I'd be like, okay, work, go do your thing, man.
What's interesting about Vivian is, so he had a drug problem, and the addiction is not his fault, and it is not an addict's fault, but the amount of I think the story is familiar of the savior woman who was just patient enough, which is what we're going to get into. And I think some of the implication when you talk about June Carter and how she saved him from drugs is that Vivian didn't. You know, like June got him off drugs and Vivian didn't. And it's like, yeah, Vivian had 4 kids. She had 4 kids.
It's also not her job.
When is she going to get you off drugs when she has 4 kids that she's dealing with by herself? So at the beginning of his drug problem, it was easy to get a lot of pills. You could just like go to doctor and be like, give me.
Yeah.
Different time for health insurance in the United States, surely. And
that was like Leach's time era.
No, it's not Leach's era.
Hey man, my timeline for medicine is so off.
But he went across the border to Mexico to get more drugs. He came back, he had a court case. He comes out of the court, and at this point he's very famous, and they take a photo of him. The photo contrast is a little bit off, and his wife is a little bit more in shadow, plus she has darker features than him, and it goes everywhere that he's married to a black woman.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And so
I hate that that's news.
Super news. The South starts to boycott his shows. And the interesting thing was, if you look at her, she does have features that look African American, and in her lineage she was descended from a slave several generations back, but she didn't even know that. And her understanding was that she was only Italian, and she was partially Italian. And so when she was described as black, they like wrote to papers, and they ended up digging up paperwork that proved that she was white. And then they started to have white nationalist groups coming after their family and being like, and mind you, Johnny goes back on the road. So then she's alone with 4 kids, knowing that like members of the KKK hate her and want to come and literally kill her. This is pre-Loving v. Virginia, by the way. So like crazy, right? It's still illegal in parts of the country to have an interracial marriage.
This country
at that time. Crazy.
Learning about history scares me sometimes. Sometimes it really scares me.
He goes back on tour, and he notices an incredible country singer named June Carter, and they strike up a friendship, and then
he's already cheating at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He's cheating on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you can imagine what that must have been like. And so he's not like falling in love with her immediately at like, it's not love at first sight. It's like, okay. And like,
he saw her for the first time. So June, an interesting dynamic is that Vivian is 2 years younger than him, and June is 3 years older than him.
Okay.
And she's already got a career singing, and he saw her for the first time on like a class field trip, and she was singing. And so he had this like, oh, she's so amazing thing before he even ever really knew her. What I was going to say,
ridiculous, though,
a little irony is that his first song to go really big was Walk the Line, which is about him staying true to his wife.
Well, that's so ironic.
And then he got famous and women were after him, and then he started cheating on his wife.
That is so unbelievably funny.
So full circle. I think what's interesting, though, is that he was on drugs. June Carter basically decided the narrative around like who chased who obviously varies. And Vivian was like, that woman was after my husband. And in his biography, he's kind of like, and then I married June. Anyway, so they were clear, but she helped him get clean. But I think part of what we want to talk about today is that like, and the role of the endlessly forgiving woman who just like loves you despite your sins. And honestly, I think the modern day equivalent would be Jay Biebs and Haley Biebs. Justin, Haley.
Explain.
June, actually, the parallels are astonishing. Okay, so June Carter, show business family. Family, they're going on the road. Haley Baldwin, show business family. Didn't really grow up in show business, seemed to have like but you know, undeterred by fame, seemingly. Grew up around famous people. She met him when they were like kids.
Okay.
And was like, here's Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber had his whole era. Justin Bieber had a very famous love story first.
Right.
That for a long time.
It was very in the eye of the public.
Put one woman absolutely through the ringer. Congratulations, Selena and Benny. So happy for you.
I know. She looked beautiful.
he put one woman absolutely through the ringer, finally ended it, quickly moved on to somebody else who had been eyeing him, even if nothing happened, with whom he had some history in the times in which he was off with Selena, moved on to a new relationship, wasn't like overnight all better with any of his various health or mental illness issues, mental health challenges. And then Hailey Bieber came in and was like, you know, this impressively forgiving and kind and generous and gentle partner. And also June Carter had her own career. Hailey Bieber rode.
Can I just point out that both of us have compared Justin Bieber to probably at least 3 out of 6 of the guys we've done before? You called Einstein
the Justin Bieber of his time.
I also compared JFK to Justin Bieber. So Justin Bieber is...
For our exact age group, Justin Bieber was so formative. Like, Justin Bieber was...
I was a big believer. I had Bieber fever so bad. When he got a haircut, I cried.
I don't want 2025 believers on my case. I'm just going to make a general statement that I think it's interesting how men can be totally forgiven for putting a woman through the ringer, putting a woman through hell over the course of a decade, as Johnny Cash did, and then moving on. And it's like, well, you know, yeah, he like, you know, ruined her life, but you know, but he's such a good artist. But I just think in general, not even with famous men, we let men ruin the lives of women, and then they get to move on, and that woman continues to be affected by that. I don't want to say damaged, but negative. That woman continues to be negatively affected by his behavior, and he gets to move on. And the interesting thing is, obviously the most blame in that situation should be placed on the man. But the interesting thing is the women who come along and see that a man has done real damage to a significant woman in his life and go, that's my man, I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him anyway.
Well, this is still a problem. I think it's this mysterious, difficult, avoidant man is an archetype that a lot of women have always found attractive. And I don't know where this started and how this came to be, but I think Johnny Cash was one of the founders of this. It
started in the 1950s, you think?
I don't know when this started.
I'm going to go Adam and Eve. That man came out. She came out and she went, I can fix him. I can fix him.
It is something that a lot of women are attracted to, and I would have been when I was younger.
I have a theory for why we as human beings date people who we know are not as good of a person as us. Why? And why we date somebody who we think is not. It's because when you date someone who you know their behavior is worse than yours, you always get to be the good person. Like if you're dating a guy who is an asshole, his behavior is always worse than yours. And so you get to be like, well, and you know, you should have done this. And the role of the martyr becomes one of like moralistic perfection. And he is bad and you are good. When you date somebody who is as good of a person as you or better, suddenly you have to start going back through your life and being like, I messed up. Like they can then call you out. So True. You can be like, if you date somebody who is as good of a person as you, then suddenly you're like, oh, I was actually kind of mean to my friend in the 3rd grade. Like you have to go back through your life and think through how you behaved, and they can call you out and be like, you're being a jerk. Whereas if he is a jerk, then you get to forever be like, and I wouldn't have done that. And I wouldn't have done that. And I wouldn't have treated you that way.
Well, it's like, yeah, even if you yell at him or you do something wrong, it's like you're still if you're still chronically the victim in the marriage or the relationship, then you feel like you don't really have to think about your shit or you don't really have to feel the guilt. I completely understand.
And there are so many ways that like we all...
Why do we like the bad boys?
Well, because if he's bad, then you're good. By the dichotomy of the relationship, if he's bad and you're not as bad as him, then you're good.
Okay.
And then if you date a man who's truly like loving and kind, and then you bite his head off one day because you haven't eaten, it's like, oh, actually that behavior was crazy and not cool. And I actually have to live with that. And I can't just be like, I'm just a girl.
How can we change this narrative? Because it's not hot to be gone all the time. It's not hot. You're
That's
30.
our theme. Stop going to war and stop going on tour.
Yeah, it's not hot to be avoidant. You're 30. Grow up. And I have a theory that guys who are going through something emotional, or they're in a depressed state, or they start to get into the whole woe is me narrative and play the wounded bird, the guys that really romanticize their own pain, these guys romanticize their pain and it comes from a place of boredom and not having anything real to be stressed about. 90% of the guys that are emo and stressing out and really playing up their damaged, wounded bird type is they're just like, they have a messy room and they just need to clean their room. PSA, if you're a normal guy and you're feeling existential about your life and nothing's really going on, just clean your room. And just fucking clean your room.
And to the men who have cleaned their rooms and are listening to this being like, yeah, my room is clean. Clean your bathroom.
Clean your car.
Because some of you have cleaned your bedrooms and then I'm going into your bathroom and I'm seeing those little fuzzy hairs that only come. We live in Los Angeles, so there's a lot of dirt.
Only women can see these.
There's those fuzzy hairs that are wet because we're in the bathroom and there's steam because of the shower. And bed made in the room, vacuumed even, gorgeous room, frames, artwork in frames. And then you go into the bathroom and there's grime that if you ran your finger along, not only would it be dusty, it would be, and let me say it again, wet. So you have wet little fuzzy hairs all over the bathroom and a toilet ring that has been there since the building was built. And so to those men who are being like, my bed's actually made, like, no, go actually clean your bathroom. Clean it. Buy cleaning products. Don't just clean with water.
No.
Buy bleach. Get your toilet cleaner and get tile cleaner.
Get your female friend to come over and
don't get your what?
No, let me finish.
To
get your female friend to come over and use her woman eyes to see the little hairs, because I'm convinced there is grime and little hairs in a bathroom that only women can see. And clean.
Shape up.
That's the
get
problem.
Your eyes checked and then look for the hairs yourself.
So if you're getting too existential and negative, and if you're bumming out lately, clean your room, clean your bathroom, clean your car, get a job.
Clean your baseboards. Clean your windowsills.
Grow up.
No, wait. Clean all the shit where there's dust. You know what I mean?
She's right. I 100% agree. No, yeah, you gotta clean the dust.
I do think our culture of individualism in the United States has meant that people aren't embarrassed to be chronically self-absorbed. Like, to be being completely self-obsessed is not only not seen as a negative, it's seen as a good thing. It's like you're self-promoting, you're self-advocating, you're obsessed with yourself, with your brand, with your, it's so good, you're optimizing your performance. And it's like, actually, if you are in a downward spiral of negative thoughts, or if you are crashing out to a degree that you have never before, even if you are going through something that is extremely hard, self-hatred is a form of self-obsession, and you are sitting in your head, still making it, even if you hate yourself, you're still making it all about you. Yeah. And the other thing is, one thing I noticed from nannying little kids is that human beings have a tendency to assume that when something is happening to them, especially when you're young, when something's happening to you, it's the first time it's ever happened to a human being ever. And so I think that we have this tendency to assume that when something horrible happens, or when we feel something horrible, that we're feeling something so unique and individual, when in reality, there is no feeling that exists when in reality, there is no feeling that another person has not felt before. It's not possible. There is no depth or darkness or low that another human being has not felt.
Yeah, no, our society definitely does kind of really stress out and emphasize that narrative and individualism. And
it's like the Jemima Kirk Instagram story heard round the world when girls were like, how do I learn to like love myself? Or someone wrote in and was like, I don't like myself that much. How do I learn to love myself? And her response was, I think you guys might be thinking about yourselves too much. It's like, yeah. If you don't like your face, stop looking at it. You know? If you don't like it, if you don't like what you see, look at something else. You know? Your value doesn't come from, you shouldn't even be able to see it.
Johnny Cash, what he did for society is not his fault directly, but he created an archetype of guy that is so existential and phony and ridiculous. And a lot of his fans at the time were just people who liked his music. And if you listen to cowboy music and the country songs that like Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson and Glenn Campbell, all these amazing male artists, they're beautiful songs and well done, but they're also like, I love my wife, so I left her, and I love her and think about her every day, but I love her and I had to leave.
I love her, so I cheated on her with the woman I'd never met.
She cries every day, and I know she's sad, and I think about that, and I cry too. And well, I have to go because
sex with someone else.
And I have to go because I have to go, and I have to go because I'm bi. That's what all. So that's basically every Johnny Cash song is like, I'm sad and I killed somebody because I wanted my wife to leave me, so I didn't leave her. Grow up. So, I clogged the toilet one time. This is Johnny Cash. So that's basically, we get it. We move on. Okay. So we digress. So they created this narrative that men listened to at the time and were like, oh, it's okay to be an asshole because it's cool. And now, the worst kind of Johnny Cash fan are the fans that are alive now in 25. The men that are big fans of Johnny Cash now, who are young men, the most dangerous, because they are obsessing over and thinking about and hearing about a narrative of being alone, being avoidant, and being an asshole to your wife is cool and hot and sexy and fun because the songs are good. So now we have a bunch of dweebs who grew up rich and spoiled, bored listening to Johnny Cash. And what are they doing? They are putting pictures of cowboy boots in their rooms, and they're calling themselves cowboys and obsessing over this cowboy aesthetic and cowboy narrative, when I swear to God, all these guys have 6 different kinds of moisturizer.
I don't want to shame a multi-step skincare routine, but I think you're spot on. I also think
But take off the cowboy hat.
I also think this is the issue with chasing aesthetics. Johnny Cash, love him or hate him, grew up in the South, was picking cotton as a kid. Like,
he was a real cowboy.
He was like a country boy. Like, he was properly born and raised country singer, country boy.
No.
And he wrote about this in his book, where he was noticing that there's all these country singers coming up who are marketing themselves as country singers, but like didn't have a particularly hard childhood. They're sort of just putting on country music as an aesthetic. These new country singers were putting on country music as an aesthetic that they could wear, and not actually from the culture or from the lived experiences that inspired it for him. And
why are they obsessed with this narrative?
Well, because it markets well, and
it's
it
very
seems
masculine.
Cool, and it's very masculine. And he said, is there anything behind the symbols of modern country, or are the symbols themselves the whole story? And does a certain kind of music now produce a way of life?
Now, I am totally, like, I totally respect that people want to listen to cowboy music and enjoy it and enjoy aspects of the cowboy culture, even if they're not. Like, I don't care, but don't like define your own actions that way and excuse them by like listening to the music and claiming to be a cowboy.
I also think when we define country music as one thing, then you get a lot of posers who want to be country music, so they put it on like an aesthetic. And if you allow country music to be modern and true to people's experiences, like country music could be wider and more vast and pertain more things and be more honest if people didn't feel like they had to put on a nostalgic idea of country, you know? Because country music now, like, you can be in the country and you're still going to have fast Wi-Fi, and you're going to be connected to the world in a different way than you would be if you were.
It's just different music.
Yeah, it's just different, and we have to let country music grow and change. Anyway.
But I'm not a fan of country music, but I do like Johnny Cash and I do like his music. You don't?
I don't dislike Johnny Cash. I just think that I've seen in my life guys who mess up, and everybody's like, don't be hard on them for messing up. Don't be hard on them for messing up. And it's like, he's going to be fine. Like, we let dudes screw up and then they're going to be totally okay. This is, I think, part of why sometimes women stay with guys who they know aren't treating them well or aren't being, whatever.
Is that what you think?
It's because of the suspicion that if they let them go, even if he sucks, another woman will come along, Yeah. And I think that maybe it's not like he was being a great husband to Vivian, but she knew that her place would be filled. She also, Vivian, his first wife, filed for divorce and then promptly went out and married somebody else because she wanted to get married before he could remarry. She wanted to beat him to it.
That's kind of funny.
Right.
I hope she was happy.
She was in love with him for the rest of her life.
Okay, thank God.
No, sorry.
Oh, Johnny Cash?
In love with Johnny for the rest of her life.
Oh, God.
But also, that's what happens when you meet somebody when you're 17, get married when you're 20. Like, they're going to have a humongous impact on...
And he was also Johnny Cash.
He was Johnny Cash. So,
he was also Johnny Cash. He was, like a... sought after musician.
She wrote a book about their experience together called I Walked the Line.
Oh, God.
No, okay. I think that's cool.
You do?
Well, she got his permission.
Oh, okay.
But also, I don't care if she did or didn't.
Walk the Line was about her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might as well.
No, respect
and
that.
She published a lot of their letters. And that boy was down bad when he was in the Air Force.
I mean, do whatever. Yeah, good for her. Get that bag.
Can I tell you an insane, for our real thing he said this
little
week?
Mouse.
I feel kind of bad quoting his own autobiography back in a way that makes him look bad. But also, like, you gave us the primary source, my guy. Like, what am I not supposed to use it,
Yeah, he's the one self-deprecating.
Right. Which
is kind of also part of his narrative and his songs. It's a lot of self-deprecating.
Mm-hmm. So...
But here you are.
This is him talking about him being with June. They were together. She said that I don't know exactly where they are in all of this because he doesn't date. It was in the mid 60s. He got married in 54. He was probably either he was at the end of his marriage or just divorced.
From Vivian.
Got
it. And he's kind of dating
still married.
June.
Kind of, yeah.
On tour singing with her.
This is the other thing, is that June said that she thought that she saw the good in him and she thought she could help him, which is similar somewhat to what Françoise Gillot said about Picasso. She thought she could help him. She said,
never can help him.
Yeah. And
stop it.
He said that she said she could help me. She said we were soulmates, she and I, and that she would fight for me with all her might however she could. I do think, I'm not saying soulmates aren't real. I am saying that the language of soulmates will keep you in a shitty and abusive relationship. And when you believe someone's your soulmate, you might be more at risk to accept poor behavior.
Possibly.
So anyway, she at one point decides to leave him because he's been crashing out for days. He's really high. And she decides she's going to leave him. And she comes into his room after a shower and she says, like, I'm going. I can't handle it anymore. and he can tell that she's serious. And he says, I really didn't want her to go. This is real thing he said about Johnny Cash. I really didn't want her to go, so I went straight out of my room and into hers, gathered up her suitcase and all her clothes, everything, her shoes included. She was barefoot, and took them back into my room. Then I pushed her out and locked my door. That should do it, I thought. All she had on was a towel. I could hear her crying in her room for a long time, but eventually she came knocking on my door. She promised not to leave if I gave back her clothes, and I believed her, so I did. And through all the trials to come, before and after she became my wife, she never tried to leave again. Johnny Cash by Johnny Cash, everybody.
Lunatic. So, and then he asked June to marry him.
Oh, yeah.
June Carter was very apprehensive and kind of afraid to commit to him because he was...
I wonder why.
A drug addict, not trustworthy, cheated... Mm-hmm. And like avoidant, and he was a mess. So she was like, you know, she had self-respect. She was a successful musician too, so she was like, fuck this. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you are more famous than I am. But he really wanted to marry her. Mm-hmm. So he asked her to marry him several times, and she kept saying no. And then when they were performing live together on stage, he interrupted mid-song and he said, I can't continue. I have to ask Miss June a question. Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, we don't need to do that. Mm-hmm. We don't need to do that right now. And he was like, no, we do. June, will you marry me? And she said yes, because it was in front of I don't know how many people, but they both were pretty famous at the time. So
this is insane, obviously, and crazy. And the scene,
you know, and everyone's like at the time, oh, this is so romantic.
Exactly.
Because they don't know.
But also there's just this has been this tendency to view men's insistence and pressure as romantic. Like,
yeah, like,
you know,
he wouldn't leave me alone.
He wouldn't leave me alone. I didn't really like him, but he just wouldn't leave me alone.
He showed up at my door every day and asked me to be his girlfriend every day.
You know, he just kept pushing, and I think that that's so sweet. Like, there are so many.
I finally said fine.
So many stories like that where the pressure and at times coercion is seen as part of a romantic love story.
That is really crazy.
And also, June didn't have time to take care of the 4 girls because she was taking care of Johnny.
She was also famous, too.
Yeah, and she was famous. And also, Johnny was a full...
drug addict?
Enough to take care of all on his own.
So then what happened with his addiction? I think at one point, she like forced him to quit, and he had withdrawals, and he had a really hard time quitting.
At one point, he stayed with her and her parents, and they got him clean and got him to recover. And then at another point, while
he was dealing like withdrawals,
had like an intervention, and so that was before I think they got married. And then after they got married, at one point he had an intervention. Everyone had to go around and read letters like you often do, and his son read him a letter about how he had embarrassed him when he was high, and that was the thing that got him clean. He relapsed again and again. The craziest story is about how one time when he was getting surgery, he hid narcotics he hid like Vicodin. Anyway, he hid pills underneath his surgical dressings to hide them from the doctor, so the doctor wouldn't know that they were there. Hid them under the surgical dressings, and then one day he passes out and they can't wake him up and they can't figure out what happened, and the pills had dissolved into his wound. So, anyway, highly recommend the book.
Don't want to know that.
There's so much more in there. But yes, he got clean, and then, you know, and he said at one point, like, you know, she's loved me through everything. She loves me so much. At some points, I've known how much she loves me, and I've taken advantage of that, and that's not good. I shouldn't do that. And she God bless her for loving me all the way, you know, through all of that. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of the like faithful wife who will love you through it all thing. Like, the interesting thing also about June Carter is that she went from June Carter to June Carter Cash, and like we said, she's a musician all on her own. But she then attached her legacy to then being Johnny Cash's wife, you know?
Well,
that's probably what she's...
And they were together for the rest of their lives.
That's true.
And June Carter and Johnny Cash died like a few months apart.
And then...
He died after her.
And then after he died, Vivian died a few months after that.
Apparently, Johnny died of a broken heart. I mean, he had like diabetes and was a drug addict for most of his life, so it kind of made sense for him to die when he was on the younger side. Yeah, Katie and I were talking about how their love story is romanticized and it's seen as this great, beautiful love story, and he loved her so much and she got him sober, but like, he still was not the best husband. He was still pretty avoidant and he did cheat on her.
It's also like, how many stories have we read or learned about where the thing keeping the family together is not fidelity or good behavior on both parts, or not the lack of bad behavior by the husbands, but women's forgiveness being the glue that keeps the family together. Like, women's forgiveness so often is what keeps the family in place.
I know. Throughout history.
Like, throughout history. And like in the Rachel McAdams Channing Tatum movie, The Vow, in which she discovers that her father cheated on her mother with her school friend. Spoiler, I think it came out in 2011. Anyway.
I have a question for you.
I might have an answer.
Do you think Johnny Cash was or contributed... Do you think he was goth or contributed to people being goth? Hear me out. He wore all black.
Is that... Okay.
Yes, of course. He didn't have like emo makeup and like My Chemical Romance type stuff, but he wore a leather jacket. He always wore black. He dressed like the dentist in Little Shop of Horrors. But so Johnny Cash is always in black and always emo and singing about how he's depressed and how, you know, he wants to be alone all the time and is wounded from his past and everybody, you know, the world is ending or whatever he fucking sings about. But
she has actually listened to a lot of Johnny Cash music.
I have listened to a lot of Johnny Cash music. Okay, I do like, you know, Marty Robbins and Waylon Jennings, and yeah, I'm not phony here. But do you think he's goth? Do you think he started goth concepts or contributed to the goth movement that millennials kind of started to go through in the 90s, early 2000s?
I think it's so important to acknowledge when you're out of your depth, and goth culture and music, I have no idea. Like, the 2000s and 2010s were so based on cliques and like specific ideals of who like people were in high school stereotypes.
The jock, the cheerleader. Right,
and I kind of loved the 2010s moment where they were like, we're going to be so progressive and say that the losers are cool. I feel like so often goth kids are just got used as like a punchline of like, those are the goth kids. So who do you think that Johnny Cash, we've talked about it throughout the episode, but who do you think?
An emo little brat, a little spoiled emo kid.
I will say, I think that you're making a good point that those are the Johnny Cashes of today, but he wasn't like, you know, Mr. Wealthy. But now the Johnny Cash cosplayers.
It's his fans. It's his modern day fans. But no, he did come from nothing. He lived in poverty during the Great Depression, so...
You want to know my frame of reference for the Great Depression?
What?
Kit Kittredge. Anyone brings up the Great Depression, I'm going... I see that little blonde bob shaking, and I see Anna Sophia Robb. Nope, Anna Sophia Robb was maybe Samantha. Anyway, I see that little blonde...
Our team is agreeing. I don't know what that means.
You knew it was the Great Depression because the family had borders, and they had to... see... So, anyway, Kit Kittredge, icon of the Great Depression.
Don't know what that is.
The
American Girl doll? The blonde one with the short hair?
Yes, with the bob. So, this is a segment in our show called You Know You're Dating a Johnny Cash.
If. You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he is avoidant and blames his avoidance on his own
substance abuse issues.
Substance abuse issues, art, trauma, whatever he's going through, anything. Blames it on something and doesn't take accountability for being actually just avoidant.
You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he has a prison tattoo but has never been to prison. Yeah. He just got like a teardrop tattoo just for like the vibes.
You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if you're starting to feel like you're just an AA sponsor. And that's all you're...
You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he has missed every major event and the events of your children, but you still kind of are like, miss him, love him.
You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he only has one pair of pants.
You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he has no posts on his Instagram profile, but 10 million followers. And you're like, how did you do that? Why do you've never posted anything?
So be careful not to date somebody who has 10 million followers.
Or 1 to 10, but no posts. Like a lot of followers, no posts. You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he totals your car. He did that. He totaled her Cadillac. They weren't even together. She had to go home and explain. And her husband was a cop who was on the case and was like, that's my wife's Cadillac. So he was like, hey, number one, why is he borrowing your car? And number two, why is it totaled? And that woman said, I guess I get a new Cadillac now.
You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he will never get a therapist, no matter how many times you try to get him to get a therapist. He just can't do it.
Similarly, I have, you know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he gives really poetic relationship advice to other couples and then skips couples therapy.
You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he writes you a song instead of actually apologizing. When he knows he did something bad.
Totally.
Totally, because that happens all the time.
You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he like spends a lot of money on a belt but didn't buy his kids birthday presents.
You know you're dating a Johnny Cash if he has to go smoke cigarettes to clear his mind.
Well, then a lot of people are dating a Johnny Cash.
So who would he be today? What type of guy would Johnny Cash be today? Do you think?
I think Johnny Cash today would be...
If he were born in this era.
I think, unfortunately, due to the opioid crisis in the United States, I think he would be dead. No, that's bad. Johnny Cash would be even more not well because he would have had access to drugs that could have been spiked. So I think that Johnny Cash would have been I think he would have had to be like, you know, a barista and a singer-songwriter and a drug addict. I think he'd be like, here's my take. I think Johnny Cash today would be a SoundCloud rapper.
That is
I think he
good.
would be a white boy. I think he would be like a, what is that? Jack Harlow. That's my take. I think Johnny Cash in 2025 would be a Jack Harlow type. I think he'd be giving Mac Miller. I think he wouldn't be making country music because he was making music that was on the forefront of country at the time. I think country at this point sounds nostalgic in a lot of ways. Don't need to piss him off. I love it. But I think he would want to be on the forefront of popular music, and I think he would be a SoundCloud rapper who had like banjos in the background. And that's my truth.
So, do you think you would have dated him?
I will say that despite everything that I've said, I did like his autobiography, and he was, I think that...
He's talented.
Yeah, he was talented, and also in his autobiography, Cash, the autobiography was written much later than Man in Black, and he's pretty clear-sighted about being... he doesn't go into a lot of detail, I think probably because he did more in Man in Black and such. He doesn't go into a lot of detail, but he is clear about being flawed, and he doesn't paint over his past, it seems like. And so I found him pretty to be a pretty straight shooter, and to be probably a really likable guy as a person and as a public figure. And unfortunately, I think that if a famous man's collateral is only one woman, he is exceptional. Unfortunately, I think that many famous men have many more than just one woman in their wake. And so I think that he left his first wife in a worse state than he even realized. But I also think that his book is good and everyone should read it. And also they should read her book, I Walked the Line, because it's really interesting to read his letters to her. Mm-hmm. All that being said, no, I don't think I would have dated him because I'm not trying to fuck around with drugs, and somebody can pull him out of a downward spiral, but that doesn't have to be me.
I think I would have done it. Unfortunately, I hate to say it. I would, be cinematic about it, and I hate to say I probably would have dated him. I probably would have fallen for him. I think something I would have done when I was younger, but
well, that's also part of the
thing. I'm not wasting time anymore, so I don't think I would now.
That's the thing, is that Vivian was 20, so that
20, I'm done.
That's when they got married. That first boyfriend bad decision that is just a part of life. Many women married them and then were stuck with that decision, the ramifications of that decision for decades. That first boyfriend that you're like, yeah, why not? Oh my God, fun. And you're like stuck in that. Did you know that June?
I was a baby.
Did you know that June wrote Ring of Fire?
Of course she did.
Yeah. Shout out
She was a musical genius, too.
And shout out Reese.
So anyway, there you have it. We just covered another cheater, another hot mess in history.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Dating History.
Tune in next week for another emo hot mess that we worship in our culture.
A boy fave, really. Another boy favorite. Another person that you probably sort of know a lot about, but don't know everything about.
Another boy that I would describe as extra.
Well, that's
a little extra.
If you changed history, you're extra as fuck.
Yeah. Like, Jesus Christ. You're so extra. You're crazy.
And some might even say he was extra. You know what I mean?
Johnny Cash?
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ was so extra.
Well, thank you for listening. I'm Katie Massey.
I'm Analisa Burns.
And this has been...
And this is Dobby Williams.
Williams?
I don't know. I just named him.
Massey. Thank you for listening. This has been Dating History.
I think he has an old man name.
Analisa.
Hello everybody, it is Katie here with the final episode fact check and follow up for the Johnny Cash episode. So getting right into it. It would seem that Chicken in Black was not an entire album, as I said, but one song. I highly recommend looking it up though. There is an accompanying music video. It was, of course, the Queen Abigail Breslin who played Kit Kittredge in the American Girl doll movie alongside Stanley Tucci, amazingly. Johnny Cash's mother wanted to name him John, and his dad wanted to name him Ray. And thus they compromised, and he was known as JR for his entire childhood. Vivian's great-great-grandmother on her mother's maternal side, Sarah A. Shields, was born into slavery, but married a white man, and her children were all listed as white. Vivian never learned this before her death, but her daughter learned it on an episode of Finding Your Roots. The movie The Vow came out in 2012. Anyway, that's all for this fact check. Thank you again for listening or watching this podcast. This podcast was created by Analisa Burns and Katie Massey. You can find us at Dating History on Instagram and Dating History Podcast on TikTok. Our podcast is filmed by Alec DeLand with sound by Sam Lederman. It's produced by Rookie Media and Paige Freeman. Our biggest source for this episode was Cash by Johnny Cash, as well as the documentary My Darling Vivian. Special thank you to the Los Angeles Public Library and the Octavia Lab. Please let us know who else you'd like to hear about in future episodes. You can send segment ideas and episode ideas to datinghistorypodcast@gmail.com. And have a great week. See you on November 5th when we cover a man who divorced his wife when he realized she couldn't give him kids. Bye!